Hello everyone and welcome to my kitchen. Today I am going to be showing you how to make my Arabic pasta. Now this is pasta with a couple different toppings. We've got three different things going on here. So we've got nice saucy spiced meat that's going to go on top of it. And then we've got a nice little fresh parsley, I don't know if you'd really call it a salad, but a little bit of fresh parsley in there. And then another little tahini style sauce that goes on it as well. It's a really, really flavorful dish. Yes, it is a little bit fussy, but it is so good and a really nice meal if you want to just have something special. So let's get started.
So as usual with my recipes, we are going to be starting with some garlic and an onion here. So I'm using 3 cloves of garlic just minced up and 1 small onion, and I've got some olive oil in my skillet here, and we're just going to saute these up until the onions are nice and translucent, and that garlic should be nice and fragrant. And then once I've got it to that point, I'm going to go ahead and add in my ground beef. And if you wanted to, you could actually sub this with some ground lamb or do half and half. I used 2 pounds this night. You can use anywhere between 1 to 2 pounds for this. It just depends on how much volume you're trying to get out of it. And so of course you're just gonna brown your ground beef, and after it has been browned, if you see that there is quite a lot of grease, which there was quite a bit that came off of mine, I just went and drained some of that and then brought it back over to the stove. And then I am going to add 1 full can of tomato paste, so 6 ounces of tomato paste. And then I have got some water in a little measuring cup off to the side here. The amount of water you use is just going to depend on how liquidy you want this, but basically you want it to be nice and saucy. So just use enough to kind of reconstitute that tomato paste to make it a saucy meat. And if I haven't mentioned, you want to go ahead and boil up about 1 pound of pasta as well. Now for the seasoning on our meat, we're going to be using about 1.5 teaspoons of some black pepper, same amount of salt, and then I am going to use some allspice for this as well. I'm using about 1 teaspoon of allspice, and this is what's going to give us that nice Middle Eastern spiced flavor really there. And I also added about 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. Now I don't like adding cinnamon to savory meals. That's just me. I just don't like it in a savory application, so that's why I use the allspice. But if you do like cinnamon, you could add cinnamon in there as well. Now for our sauce that we're going to top this with, we are going to use about 1.5 cups of Greek yogurt here, just plain Greek yogurt, and we're going to add to that about 2 tablespoons of tahini. So tahini is just sesame paste, and go ahead and give that a little bit of a stir. And then we're going to add some seasonings in here to give this a little bit more flavor. Now I added fresh chopped garlic to this, about 2 cloves worth. That is going to give you a very garlicky sensation, a very garlicky sauce. If you're sensitive to garlic, I would recommend subbing out the fresh for just a little bit of garlic powder. I added about 1/4 teaspoon of ground cumin here. I like the depth, the earthiness it gives it. And then about 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and gave that a mix. I also added a little bit of black pepper, just a pinch. You don't want a whole lot in there. And then give that a mix. And then the very last thing that we're going to add in here is just a little bit of lemon juice. So we're going to take the juice of half of a lemon and just mix that in as well. We're going to give that a stir and then set that off to the side. Now we're going to get started on our fresh parsley quote unquote salad. So I've got about half of a bunch of fresh parsley here going into my food processor. And then I also had some fresh mint leaves on hand. This is a great addition if you have it available because it's going to just add to the Middle Eastern flavors we've got going on. But it's totally optional, so you don't have to add it. Then I just gave this a quick blitz just to kind of start getting things chopped up. And then I am going to add about a teaspoon of olive oil, not a whole lot, just a little bit to kind of dress the leaves. And then the juice of half of a lemon here. And then you just want to blitz this until everything is real small and fine. Now the last thing that I am going to do for our pasta here is to cut up about 1 cup's worth of cherry tomatoes. I'm just cutting these in half, and then after I've got those cut, I'm just going to season with a little bit of salt, about a pinch of salt, just to bring out the flavor in our tomatoes. And this just makes such a nice addition to the pasta. It really makes it feel just fresh and vibrant and so good. So once you have all of your elements together, you're going to build your plate something like this. You're going to start with a base layer of pasta, and then you're going to add on a nice portion of our saucy spiced meat. And then on top of your meat, you're going to add a little bit of that creamy Greek yogurt tahini sauce. And then you want to sprinkle some of the fresh parsley over this. So you want to make that look real nice on there, but it's not just for looks, it is definitely adding to the flavor of our dish. And then last but not least, we are going to top this off with our nice fresh cherry tomatoes. This is what it looks like, and it is so fantastic. It is such a yummy dish. It really looks special, but none of the elements are hard to do. So I hope you guys try this recipe. If you do, please leave me a comment below, and thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.